capital gains tax is outrageous. We need to lower it so that people who start companies, who create investments, who create opportunity, have a chance to keep more of what they earn. The size of the government is taking away the energy and the resources from the private sector. The president announced that he had got 2 million new jobs because of the stimulus package. The Wall Street Journal did their analysis.
No one in the administration agrees on the number, though. They're all off by about 500,000 or million.
Don't worry, Vice President Biden has been put in charge now. I can't make this up. He's been put in charge of measuring it. So we'll...
Speaking of Biden, did you see the video of him singing, supposedly drunk, The Villages? That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
No, I haven't seen that. But
I didn't see that on YouTube.
I have an aversion to video attacks on YouTube, so...
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
The other point I wanted to make is that the president says 2 million. Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, I think, did their own estimates, just over 500,000.
Wow.
And 385,000 of the 500,000 are in the government.
Yep.
So, what has your $789 billion of stimulus got you? 385,000 government jobs. That's the difference, I think, between what the Republicans can offer to young professionals and what we can. One last thing, although you don't mention it as often perhaps, it really deserves to be mentioned in our state. Agriculture is dying.
Yes.
The Dems are all for turning off the water in the Central Valley. The unemployment rate in the Central Valley is above 17% in 5 of the Central Valley counties. So when we speak of young professionals, let's not ignore those young professionals in agriculture too, who are suffering from a drought of man-made as well as nature-made proportions.
Fantastic point. Question for Tom Campbell. Question, yes sir. Your name and your question.
Hey, my name's Bill Chambers. I'm one of the candidates for governor for the Republican Party.
Nice to meet you, Bill. I hope I gave you some...
And I'm happy to say that I'm glad to see you dropped out of the campaign and made it easier for me.
I had that in mind.
Now, how can we get all the Republicans together? We've got the moderates, we've got the far right, we've got the Christian right, we've got all sorts of different people who call themselves Republicans, but we are only one Republican group. We need to get ourselves together as a group so that we can draw the Democrats over to our side, because the only way anybody can win in the state campaigns is to have Democrats come over.
Yeah.
How can we do this?
And independents too, to climb the state. So good luck to you in the governor's race. It goes back to what I said just at the end of my remarks. Republicans in a primary should put their own ideas forward and make their best case. They should not go tearing down the other. And you've got to do your best to get that message out in the governor's race. And obviously, I'll do my best in the Senate race. The way I presented myself today, I hope, is a way of doing that. So that you don't have the bridges, you don't have, the chasms to bridge after a primary. And then secondly, we happen to have the single unifying element in this election that has eluded us in previous elections, and that is the economy. This time it is our issue. It is the economy, stupid. You're running for governor with a 12.5% unemployment rate in the state of California. Me running for United States Senate with a 9.5% national unemployment rate. Can we do better? Did your money get the jobs the president said they would? Are you happy with nationalizing health care? Are you happy with a new federal agency to oversee all investments? Are you happy with the federal government growing and taking more of your individual liberty? If not, you're a Republican. And there's no Republican, I dare say, in this room or in this convention who disagrees with a single word that I just said. Can I find disagreements? Sure. I'd rather point to the positives, and that's how you win in the room.
Final question for Congressman Campbell. We have another question. Question?
Maybe I'll end with, please, go ahead.
Quick one.
Yes, ma'am.
Bonnie Williams. It just frustrates me. It's like the college educated are also unemployed, but all the unemployment seems to talk about the blue collar and people in construction. I know I'm unemployed right now, and I know a lot of college grads. Like, stop educating, get educated, because it's just more competition for us. But nobody talks about all the professionals that are not working.
Thanks for adding that to the mix. I've been 34 years since I left graduate school, and 11 of those I served in elected office. And 6 of those I served Ronald Reagan. I was in his administration, or I was a law clerk in the U.S. Supreme Court or U.S. Court of Appeals. 17 years I was a teacher. So my life has been 50-50. 17 years as a teacher, 17 years in government. And thus when you tell me about teachers unemployed, I completely validate and understand that. and maybe I'll end with one thing, harkening back to our state. The community college system is the key. It is the greatest dollar rate of return we can make in our state. It trains people who are out of work to get the skills to get back to work. And much as I promote the other parts of the higher education system in our state, it is really short-sighted to shortchange the community college system in the middle of this recession. So when I was in the governor's race, I put forward my budget, and my budget protected the community college system, and it also protected the Cal Grant. The Cal Grant is the scholarship to people who are smart enough to get into college in California, but can't afford it. And I thought that is our future. We'll never outcompete the world on cheap labor. We will outcompete the world with the product of our minds. So in dealing with all of these problems, keep your mind on the priority, and to me that's our intellectual capital.
Little clarity, I don't mean teachers, I'm talking about business analysts, engineers, physicists. I mean, these people are all the ones that are out of jobs. All of us who made over 100K are down to zero.
Then this is a wonderful way for me to conclude. By all means, I represented Silicon Valley for 9 years. If you think I'm going to disagree with that, you're wrong. I'm totally with you. But bear in mind that not every CEO of a high-tech company is an engineer. Paul Otellini, the CEO of Intel, got an MBA degree from Cal Berkeley. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
So that's the way to... you make a very good point. It's not just the engineers, it's also the business professionals. To conclude, I'm running a fact-based campaign. Campbell.org is where you can see my alternative budget, where you can see my alternative health care plan, where you can see my response to some of the silly attacks which have been referenced, and where you see the contrast between me and Senator Boxer. And I'll end with one because it didn't come up and it probably never will. The hardest vote I ever had to cast in Congress was to go to war. So you ask, has somebody been there? Has that candidate been there and had to do it? The answer is yes. Almost as hard, not quite, almost as hard, was the vote to impeach the president. And again, my district, that was sending some of whom were giving me grief over the war, also rose up against me when I voted to impeach President Bill Clinton. Why? Because he had submitted false, misleading information to a criminal grand jury and thought he was above the law. When that went over to the Senate, Senator Barbara Boxer, whose daughter had married Hillary's brother, did not recuse herself. When it counted, did I have the courage to cast the votes that mattered? Yes. Yes, I did. And does that lead to a record of contrast? Perhaps the most important thing I did in 9 years in Congress was to bring a vote to the House floor when President Clinton was bombing Belgrade. President Clinton bombed Belgrade for 93 days and said that he did not need a declaration of war. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright testified before my committee, the House International Relations Committee. And I said to her, how can you justify this? Is this not war? And she said, oh, that's a legal question, I'll leave it to you. With a dismissive hand. The War Powers Resolution allows any Congress member to bring to the House floor a vote. It was the first time in history it had ever been used was when I used it to compel a vote. And I brought two resolutions. One was a declaration of war on Yugoslavia, and the other was a resolution that the United States troops should withdraw from that action. Take your pick, but go on record. That's the constitutional duty, and that's what I'll uphold as a member of the United States Senate. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Tom Campbell, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to take it out to our next panel. We really appreciate the Congressman being here.